John Brown was born on September 1st, 1904 in Dothan, Alabama. He was a major college football star in the 1920s and scored the winning touchdown in the 1926 Rose Bowl for Alabama, the first time a Southern team had ever won a Rose Bowl. The following year, Brown went to Hollywood and played minor roles in various pictures before going on to play the leading man in many of MGM's romances and dramas.
Why, you know Mr. Tunstall wouldn't pull the legs off a fly.
Now look here, Billy, you ain't trying this case.
Yes, I am.
His first Western role was the lead in King Vidor's Billy the Kid in 1930. He continued to star in big-budget dramas for a few years after this, until his career took an unexpected bad turn, when he was replaced by rising star Clark Gable in Laughing Sinners in 1931, and all of his scenes were reshot. Apparently, the studio execs did not think his southern drawl would play well in talking pictures. Subsequently, he moved on to serials and B pictures, though he was still sometimes cast in bigger budget productions in smaller roles. Brown starred in Fighting with Kit Carson for Mascot Pictures in 1933, and Rustlers of Red Dog for Universal in 1934. The following year, he signed on for his first Western series with A.W. Hagel. He would star in a total of 16 films for Hagel, 8 distributed by the producer's own studio, Supreme Pictures, and 8 by Republic.
Get him up.
You come to steal Lolita from me.
That'll be enough out of you. See the lady's clothes on the bed there? Well, climb into them. You can turn your back if you're a mind to.
But, senor...
Hop to it.
During this period, he continued making serials for Universal, including Wild West Days in 1937, Flaming Frontiers in 1938, and The Oregon Trail in 1939. He also had supporting roles in a number of westerns for other studios. In 1939, Johnny Mack signed on to do a series of pictures for Universal, featuring Fuzzy Knight as his comic sidekick. Knight had formed his own band in college, and later played the drums in various big bands on vaudeville. By the late 20s, he was touring on Broadway, and eventually came to Hollywood, appearing in several musical short films during the early sound era. His first notable role was in She Done Him Wrong with Ma West. He would go on to appear in hundreds of movies over the course of his 40-year career. By the early 1940s, he was mainly doing work as comic relief in westerns, and he would continue with Universal after Brown left in 1943. The Lone Star Trail is the last picture Johnny Mack Brown starred in for Universal. In it, he plays Blaze Barker, a paroled convict who returns to the town of Dead Falls determined to prove his innocence and to bring the men who framed him for robbery to justice.
You want to try and prove that I was framed, if that's what you mean?
Tex Ritter had been brought on as a co-star for this last season, and here he plays Fargo Steele, a U.S. Marshal working undercover.
I'm getting a little rusty. I'd sure hate to be on the other end of your gun when you're really in trim.
My name's Fargo Steele.
I'm mighty glad to know you.
I'm headed for Dead Falls.
Born Woodward Maurice Ritter on January 12, 1905, in Merval, Tex had studied law at the University of Texas as a young man. He had traveled with various country and western bands before appearing on the Houston radio station. In 1932, he starred in The Lone Star Rangers, New York City's first broadcast western radio show. In 1936, movie producer Edward Finney signed Tex on to star in a western series for Grand National Pictures, hoping to replicate the success of Gene Autry at Republic.
The showdown came when I was singing a song he didn't like. I told him to go for his gun. I considering everything, he was powerful fast, but not fast enough. And you know, boys, I only missed 2 notes of getting him.
When the studio began going bankrupt, Finney moved his production unit to Monogram in 1938, bringing Tex along with him. Altogether, Tex made 32 westerns for Finney before the two parted ways in 1941. Tex then moved to Columbia, where he starred in a series alongside Bill Elliott. Elliott was unhappy being saddled with a co-star, and left for Republic shortly thereafter. Tex then moved to Universal, where he was assigned to their Johnny Mack Brown unit. After Brown left Universal, Ritter took top billing for a time, until being replaced by Rod Cameron in 1944. Tex then moved to PRC, to replace James Newell in their Texas Ranger series, and stayed there till 1945. After this, Ritter left Hollywood to focus on recording.
So long as these 2 guns hang here, peace will reign in Red Rock Valley.
I got a gal waiting there alone in that dear old Lone Star pay. I call home. I got to see Texas just once more.
In this film, Tex sings I Gotta See Texas Just Once More, which was written by fellow singing cowboy Jimmy Wakely. The singer-songwriters Jimmy Wakely Trio also appear in the film, singing Adios Vaqueros and Welcome Home. Wakely and his band had appeared in many series westerns prior to this, and Jimmy would go on to star in his own series for Monogram, doing 28 pictures between 1944 and 1949. The villains, land grabbers out to take control of the valley before a new dam is constructed, are led by Barker's supposed friend, Doug Ransom, played by George Eldridge.
Now you've got twice as much to worry about. When Blaze Barker's body is found, the law is going to start asking you men plenty of questions, and some of them are going to be hard to answer. That's where you come in.
Robert Mitchum plays one of his partners in crime, a gunman named Ben Slocum, whose fist fight with Brown halfway through the film is a real highlight. Mitchum had appeared in a number of Hopalong Cassidy pictures before this, as well as Beyond the Last Frontier with Eddie Dew. His breakout performance in The Story of G.I. Joe a few years after this would make him a major star. The other baddies are Michael Valens' banker, Jonathan Bentley, and Earl Hodgins' corrupt mayor, Cyrus Jenkins. Jennifer Holt plays Barker's girl, Joan Winters, a cattle rancher who Ransom and the others are trying to force off the range.
I doubt if I could sell the Vista Grande ranch as much as I like to be rid of the worry of it.
Well, Joan, if you change your mind, let me know. I can probably get a better price from the bank than you can.
The daughter of actor Jack Holt and the sister of Tim Holt, Jennifer was born in Los Angeles in 1920. She appeared in many movies, mostly B-westerns, between 1941 and 1948. Her first western was the Hopalong Cassidy picture, Stick to Your Guns.
Trip. Well, what if it was? Dang it all, June, I'm tired of sitting around and dying a dry rot.
Oh, don't talk like that.
After this, Jennifer signed a contract with Universal, who she would stay with for a few years before freelancing for various different studios.
I'll be all right, Cochran. I'll get rid of these clothes and ride back to my uncle's ranch. He thinks I went into town to shop at the general store.
Slocum and Jason figured they had a weakling to deal with. But from the looks of things, I think they were a little mistaken.
The whole cast acquit themselves quite well. Johnny himself is great as the wronged man, Blaze Barker, forced to face his accusers without even carrying a gun through most of the film. The actor had a sense of warmth and quiet calm that serves him quite well here.
You men framed me. You testified you saw me run out of the express office the night it was robbed for $75,000. The fact that the money was never recovered didn't prevent a jury of your friends from convicting me. I spent 2 years in the pen, 730 days, 17,520 hours. I know. I counted each one of them.
The bad guys are frightened to death of Barker, and you can really see why. The Lone Star Trail is well directed by veteran Ray Taylor. The aforementioned bar fight is certainly the most memorable action scene, but there's enough gunplay and chase scenes to keep any action fan happy. After Buck Jones' tragic death in 1942, Monogram was in need of a new lead actor for their westerns, and they went to Brown. His first group of westerns for them repurposed unused scripts from the Rough Riders series, and featured Raymond Hadden as Sandy Hopkins. Hadden would stay on as Brown's sidekick for a time after this, and was later replaced by Baxter Roone, and then by James Ellison. Brown stayed with Monogram for 10 years, starring in more than 60 westerns for them. His last western was Canyon Ambush, released in 1952, after which he retired from the screen.